to see all of you. We're recording. And so you can see we have Robin and Lauren here today. Lauren, actually, her voice is gone this week. So she's here and she wants to know that you guys, she wants you all to know that she is here, but I'll be doing a little bit of the talking and Robin will do a little bit of the talking later on as well. But we have a very exciting topic today, driving better with PD. We have Sandy and Tina here with Drive Alert Training Academy, and we're really excited to have them. Before they start and before I hand it over to them, I do just briefly want to thank our sponsor for this event, Oak Street Health. I don't think that they're on here today, and if they happen to pop on later, then we'll say hi to them, but just want to thank them for making this program possible. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Sandy and Tina, and I'm so excited to learn about this topic. And then later on at the end of the program, Robin will tell you guys a little bit about some upcoming programs. So Sandy and Tina, the floor is yours.
Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Sandy, and I'm a certified instructor with Drive Alert Training Academy, and also with the Automobile Association, American Automobile Association, commonly known as AAA. So today I will be speaking about how to extend your safe driving career by addressing what we can do to continue to drive safely and to compensate for the ways our bodies change as we age. So we're going to take a look at some situations or conditions which could influence an older driver's decision about their driving habits. So here is a short video that will depict how this is done.
Do you want to share your screen?
Yes, ma'am, I'm doing that now. Let's see. We apologize.
It's okay. We love technology, you know?
we did this like 3 days in a row. Everything worked well while we shared the screen. And for some
it's just us. What do you guys have against gaps? But, well, maybe yeah. Tina, if you want to try to work on the tech side, and Sandy, if you want to continue, just maybe sharing what was in the content of the video, just to keep things moving.
Absolutely.
Or vice versa. And we could hear what was going on, so maybe if you want to just have the audio, we can do that.
Yeah, let's actually try to do that here. But or actually, Sandy, just go ahead and can you hear? Can you hear? Yeah.
We can't hear the video right now.
Yeah, go ahead, Sandy.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about adjusting to changes. So as we have seen, the body changes naturally as we age, and certain functions critical to safe driving diminish over time. Actual visual, cognitive, and physical functions change at different rates for different drivers. They do change in all of us. If they continue to drive exactly as they have for years without considering the effects of natural age-based changes on their driving abilities, this can really increase in older drivers' risk. However, there are ways that older drivers can adjust their driving to help reduce their risk while remaining just as mobile as they have always been. For example, an older driver might choose to avoid driving at night to reduce the risk associated with diminished night vision. But how do older drivers know when it might be appropriate to adjust their driving habits to reduce their risk out on the road? For some drivers, it actually is simply in responding to accepting that their driving abilities are not getting any better and are in fact probably on the decline. For these drivers, there are no specific triggers that they have experienced. They just realize that the gap between their skills and the real demands of driving is growing, and they will continue to grow. So they decide to make some adjustments or accommodate for the full complement of ways that their body is actually changing. So for other drivers, it is experiencing specific signs of decreased abilities or increased difficulties. Examples of some changes that signs that older drivers might experience include they feel less confident about their driving. Other drivers often honk at them or show frustration with their driving. They might get lost more frequently, even actually on familiar roads. They become easily distracted or have difficulty concentrating while driving. They notice that they respond more slowly in unexpected situations or have trouble moving their foot from the gas to the brake pedal quickly enough. They misjudge gaps in traffic and at intersections and on highways, entrance and exit ramps. These are just a few of the specific signs that some older drivers might use as reasons to start adjusting their behaviors. So, you know, of course, as we age, unfortunately, the likelihood of being affected by some medical conditions increases, but actually, but not limited to arthritis, diabetes, sleep apnea, and Parkinson's disease. So all of these are serious medical conditions, but having one or more of these does not automatically mean you cannot be a safe driver. In fact, you can drive safely with many of these conditions as long as you work with your doctor to help manage your conditions with that safe driving in mind, you know, such as an in-car skills driving evaluation from a certified driving school and instructor, such as with Drive Alert, and by having a clinical assessment to identify any underlying medical conditions that might affect your driving and to offer ways to address them so that driving can remain a safe option for you. So although we are getting older, there are some positive developments and useful techniques for helping us drive safely as we age. Again, the point when you retire from driving may be years from now, but know that we are more likely than ever to outlive our driving abilities simply because our generation is living much longer. And that's why it's so important to plan ahead for that eventually. So thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, you can reach us by email at drivealerttrainingacademy@gmail.com or by phone 864-297-7878 and visiting our website www.drivealerttraining.com. So does anyone have any questions? I think everyone is on mute.
I am taking myself off mute. Oh, can you just, hello. I'm a spouse of a Parkinson's person, but also an older driver. So other than slowing down, what are some other tips that you would give someone who's getting a little bit more concerned about their ability to drive?
Well, basically changing, like if they have an appointment to go somewhere, say for instance, and they're not feeling up to the drive, changing that appointment, okay? Don't drive at night or when it's starting to get dark, specific times during the day. So in other words, you would not want to plan an appointment around lunchtime or around that 5 o'clock traffic. You're going to want to adjust those driving times. Also stretching. Stretching is very good for any driver that's going to get behind the wheel. You know, make sure that your neck is not stiff. You know, that like I said, any kind of stretching, you know, stretching your legs, especially, you know, with making it more helpful to move your foot from the brake to the gas, the back and forth, from the gas to the brake, from the brake to the gas. Also, if you're not feeling up to it, if you've had a cold, if you're taking, you know, cold medication, that would be for anyone. You do not want to be behind the wheel if you're taking any type of cold medicine. And also, you know, checking with your doctor as far as any medications that they're may be taking that would kind of alleviate that they don't need to be behind the wheel at all. So was that helpful? Very good. Anyone else?
Tina.
It's Sandy. Tina's had to step away.
Of course, sorry. Can you speak to possibly any of local senior driving improvement courses?
Okay, we actually do offer a senior refresher here at Drive Alert Training Academy. I myself have done a senior refresher with a gentleman. He was concerned about being in traffic and what to look for. And so basically what we did was I got him in the car and showing him what to look for as far as with traffic getting onto the interstate, watching that traffic, making sure he's looking at his mirrors. He was basically just looking straight ahead and then looking at a mirror if he wanted to move, not being aware that, you know, he needed to be checking all those mirrors so that he could be more aware of the traffic around him and being able to judge, especially with traffic coming up around him, that did he have time to get over and was he running a speed that he could actually move into another lane and not interfere with the actual flow of traffic. So a lot of it is just making sure that, especially at stoplights, that they're paying attention to the lights. And even when you're crossing over an intersection, to always don't jump right when it turns green. You want to make sure you're not going, you know, turtle slow, but that as you're pulling into that intersection, you're checking that cross traffic for anyone that could be running a red light, that they're not paying attention. So it's just bringing those things to mind, that this is what you're going to have to look for that will keep you safe and to keep you out of the way of other drivers. So was that helpful?
Do you know any sources of statistics that show any relationship between having Parkinson's and the accident rate of the drivers?
I do not have that on hand, but I will get that together and we'll make sure that we send that over to you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Did you have any other questions?
Give me a moment.
Oh, sure. You're perfectly fine.
I wanted to just say, I read a rather disturbing article that said that quite a few patients with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's wait until they've had an accident before they make changes. And I wondered if that is kind of the experience of most people, or.
Yes, because they don't actually want anyone to actually take their driving away from them, that they feel like they're having their world stripped from them. If you've got family or friends that can actually help someone that has the Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease, that they're taking the time to drive with them, to actually give feedback on what they're seeing, that actually would cut down on accidents, because of course you don't want your loved one to be hurt, and you would not want to hurt, anyone else, while you're driving with that. So it's trying to help them as much as possible so that there's not going to be an accident. Does that make sense? Okay. But yeah, it's just getting that someone that, that can spend the time with them, or bring them to a school that can do that refresher with them, to kind of help show, their reaction time, and to making sure, as I said, that they're safe and everyone around them is safe.
Miss Tina.
Oh, Tina's not here. She had to step away. I'm Sandy.
Okay, Sandy. Are you going to make that information available to us somehow?
The statistics, yes, sir. I'm going to get that together, and we'll make sure we'll send that over.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
definitely.
it.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Hello, I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
When my husband came in advanced Parkinson's, occasionally his foot would kind of fall off the accelerator. Not a lot, but then also he was taking some medicines that say that he could fall asleep without warning. And I believe he fell in our house from standing up. He just fall occasionally, not often, but I think it was the medicine making him fall asleep. So that's what I really started not letting him drive, and he was okay with it. Because he didn't want to cause an accident either. And so that was kind of bad. He drove better than he could park. That's when I first started really realizing he had a problem. He started like pulling in sideways to a parking spot, or at an angle and not going straight in. I couldn't imagine why he was doing that, and I realized it was Parkinson's.
Well, God bless the fact that you seen that was happening, and that he understood that he's no longer a safe driver, especially while taking that medication. And that working with your doctor to find out if it's one specific medication, or if it's a combination of two medicines together that might hinder someone's driving ability.
Well, when they get advanced, they take a lot of different medicines, so it's kind of tricky. But
as we get older, that's another thing with it seems that we're taking more medicines than we did when we were younger. I'm experiencing that with some things with my mother. So yes.
And you have to be careful too, because of being older. I've developed cataracts, and all of a sudden I realized I can't really drive at night because the headlights reflect too much in my eyes.
Right, and that's just planning
do it anymore.
That you just don't do things at night.
Yeah.
Well, bless you, darling.
Thank you.
Andy, do you have any special defensive tips that you can give us, specifically for I'm thinking, I think sometimes when I'm traveling, I don't even have any health issues. And sometimes these people are just weaving in and out of traffic. And that I'm thinking might be overwhelming for someone that does have health issues. So do you have some defensive tactics or ways that we can drive when we have people weaving out of traffic, let's say like on a 2-lane road like Pelham Road, where you just have people switching lanes all around you and stuff?
Right. Well, checking those mirrors, if you have to drive on those certain roads where you're having that traffic, weaving in and out of you, making sure that you can keep up with the speed limit, that you're comfortable. There again, if you're not comfortable with driving certain roads that, are 55, 65, 70 miles an hour, then you need to avoid those roads. You need to take other detours that would keep you away from those roads. But if you had to drive on those roads, that speed limit, checking those mirrors, that is what's helping you with what is going on around you. not fixating on a mirror. But, you know, every 7 to 10 seconds, one of those mirrors needs to be checked so that you're aware of what's going on around you. If you see someone speeding up behind you and you're coming to a stop, you need to be looking for an out. Am I safe to go to the right? Am I safe to go to the left? So those mirrors come into big play.
Thank you.
Honey, you're welcome.
Was it Greenville that I saw where the police are now going to be potentially ticketing slow drivers in the fast lane?
Yes, yes, because it's a danger. That's, you know, you need to be in that traveling lane, but there is also that speed limit so that if it's 55, you really can't go any slower than 45. So what you're doing is those other crazy drivers around you, it's creating a hazard. And so, yes, they are ticketing.
And may I add to that? That's a very good question. My name is Tina Dodd, and I believe they did a introduction
Yes.
for myself. So with that question in mind, so the House of Representatives here in South Carolina passed a law in June. So your fast lane, so going under that posted speed limit, you can now get a citation for it. Reason being, so the fast lane is your passing lane only. So traveling under the posted speed limit, it does one thing that can lead to the next. First thing it leads to is aggressive driving, okay? Especially if those who are familiar with Lawrence Road here, Woodruff Road here, okay? That leads, aggressive driving leads to road rage. So let's look at it at this point here. Out of all the intersections in the country, Greenville has 3 of the worst intersections in the country, okay? So we rank number 1, number 2, and number 7, okay? So I'm gonna give you these. The first intersection, worst intersection in the country is Pelham Road in 85. So there was 411 collisions there. We don't call them accidents. They're collisions, okay? 411, okay? First, number 1 worst intersection in the country. Second worst intersection in the country that, again, Greenville ranks is 385 in Lawrence Road. So if you're familiar with the motor mile, so that pocket there where 85 connects, so that's the second worst intersection in the country. So there was over 300 collisions there, okay? The 7th worst intersection in the country is 385 and 85. Okay, so driving the speed limit is important. So the research and technology, the science has been done behind every posted speed limit. So if you're not able to do the posted speed limit, then the safest lane to travel in is your a slower lane.
Hey, Tina.
Yes, absolutely.
To add on to that, what are some very clear signs that you should no longer be driving? Can you give us some exact, so just to make it very obvious for our members to really understand, okay, I'm really not safe for myself or for others on the road. Can you give us some of those?
Absolutely. And this is what we teach too. So as we age, we have so our depth perception, it starts to weaken, right? So what we can look for on our vehicle, especially your bumper, small dents, okay? And those are signs that one is losing their depth perception, okay? Sandy noted is, so if your reaction time, and this is something that we do within our training, well, so we have simulators. So within our simulators, we're able to test someone's reaction time, okay? So our computer, our scenarios, will put them in situations such as interstate driving, crash avoidances, different type of situations. And then when something happens on the screen, and if they're not able to react to that within the appropriate amount of time, so the computer actually monitors and grades that. So the reaction time, so to be able to have a defensive, evasive reaction to whatever situation happens. So if those situations starts to weaken, that's a cue that we need to either have a driving school, a professional evaluate that. And that's something that we do. So we have individual drive lessons. And so we can evaluate what they're doing behind the wheel. And as Sandy mentioned earlier, it's so crucial to check your mirrors, okay? What we teach all of our clients, every time your foot goes to the brake, you need to check your rear view mirror. And that's what we're noticing a lot of people is not doing. You had to be a good defensive driver. You have to know what's going on around you, not just in front of you. So in front of you, you need to also check your side view mirrors, and also your rear view mirror. And you scan your mirrors every 3 to 7 seconds. So does that answer the question a little bit?
Are there any other very, very clear signs? Like if someone is noticing as they're walking at home that they are freezing, and then they notice maybe as they're driving that they're noticing those same symptoms more frequently, how can you determine? Are there any other specifics related to Parkinson's perhaps?
Yes, ma'am. I had actually had someone very close to me who had it. She lived in Florida, and so me just going out there to personally drive with her and to see if she was able to still be capable of driving. Okay, so some of these signs and symptoms that she had, shaking, so her hands, so she couldn't hold anything without shaking. Okay, so that was a clear sign. Okay, her posture, her walk. Okay, she was unable to stay steady standing without assistance. So that's an indicator as well. And again, I've already mentioned her depth perception, so she was losing her sight as well. Now, everyone wants to keep their independence, okay, especially with driving, okay. That's something that we don't want to give up. Now, I'm speaking of myself. I was actually struck, myself and a student, about 3 years ago, was struck in a training vehicle as someone who had Parkinson's. So without going into full detail, because we're still pending legal issues with that. Yeah, so he wasn't able to react. Okay, so we were stopped at a red light, and just out of nowhere. So he wasn't able to react seeing us stopped. So I hope that answers your question.
So I guess a good way to kind of summarize that would be to really pay attention to your reaction times, absolutely, your clarity of thought, your vision, absolutely, your tremor situation, absolutely, and then consider what those signs might mean behind the wheel when you have to react very, very quickly.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
We do have a question in the chat. One of our members has said, I noticed my car pulling to the side of the road and seeing those ditches, have to be cautious with those ditches. Any info on rollover accidents correlated with Parkinson's?
Answer that.
Okay, well, so as far as with the car pulling to the side closest to the ditch, the roads themselves are at an angle. And so that's so that the water does not puddle in the road as much. So a lot of times your car is going to kind of pull to that right side. As far as, with the ditch and everything, that's another thing of just being able to keep your car in the center of your lane. And that's knowing the distance of your car. How big is your car? How much space does it take up on the road? And so it's just being aware of the distance, how large your car is, and being able to stay in the middle of the road and knowing that that road does slant off to the right for reasons to keep water from puddling on the roads.
And I would like to add to that, very good. So how can you monitor when your vehicle is centered in the road? A good way to do that, a very easy way to do that, either if your foot is either on the brake or gas pedal, simply remove your foot off of that and it's going to bring you back into the center of the lane. So that's an easy tip. Now, in regards to rollover, so that depends on the speed that you're going. So if you happen to see yourself drifting, how rollovers occur is oversteering. So if you jerk on the wheel, for example, if you're veering more to the right and you notice yourself, and when you overreact and oversteer, depending on the speed, that's what causes your vehicle to actually roll over.
What other questions do we have? Oh, John, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wonder if you might comment on my doctor's neurologist recommended I take driving tests from Roger C. Peace, and I did that, and it's a two-part test they give. The first part is for driving on, I guess, city roads, and the second part on the interstate or highway. So after the test, she stopped after the first part of the test, and I got permission passed to drive on city roads, as it were. And she said, maybe later, and that was the same time-ish that I quit going to work. She said, after, under less stress and they'll watch you in your other therapies, maybe you can take the second part of the test. So I'm kind of wondering what would the second part of that test, if I were to take that, I don't know if you other guys have been through this or not, what are they looking for in that interstate or highway driving? And her medical records report kind of said no highway driving, but most roads except for neighborhoods are highway roads. I mean, Orange Road, Woodruff Road, and those are busy streets. White Horse Road,
right.
And I kind of thought I made it pretty clear that I have some property on Highway 11 I want to be able to travel to. So I've taken it to mean don't go over 55, stay off the interstate, and kind of been hoping that's what she meant. If I wanted to take the test again, I'm afraid of losing everything I have, as long as I'm still being reasonably safe. Y'all you just comment on the difference in that. And as far as the state, it doesn't show up on my driver's license, but the lady at Roger Peace said it would be, it shows up somewhere. The highway department knows somehow.
Thank you so much for that background information and sharing that. So we are not medically certified, such as Roger C. Peace. And just for the record, so South Carolina driver's education training certification and regarding the state, it doesn't require and is not mandatory that one to teach someone how to drive on the interstate. I think that's absolutely insane. I think it's absolutely needed. But that's something that we make mandatory within our training program. Because as you noted, there's interstates that's going up around us, here in the Greenville area. So that's mandatory, but again, it's not required and not mandatory by the state of South Carolina, but it's something that we make mandatory within our training program. So individuals who is not a part of our 14-hour course, who just wants individual drive lessons for that reason, that's what we do. Making sure someone is comfortable entering on the interstate, okay? Being able to keep up with the flow of traffic, how to maneuver on the interstate properly. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any final questions?
Mr. Michael, just a minute. Mr. Michael had asked about statistics for Parkinson's of accidents. Do we have that?
Actually, not detailed as such. We do get a report from the state analysts from the Highway Patrol on vehicle fatalities, but it's not broken down to that degree for legal reasons. For example, I'm on the board of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, so they're not able to release data in regards to someone who was impaired as such.
So we can't get those statistics. Okay.
Okay. It's not on the report.
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm a adult child of someone with Parkinson's, and you mentioned there's a simulator. Well, first off, I just want to acknowledge, what a difficult transition and time of life this is for everyone involved. It's very challenging. And I have a lot of compassion for this issue. But you mentioned there's a simulator part to the test. And as someone who supposedly has all their faculties in check, I resist going out and driving in Greenville traffic. It is wacky out there.
Yes.
And does the simulator simulate Greenville traffic?
Very good. Yeah, we have tons. We have numerous of different scenarios that we're able to put someone in a simulated environment, such as downtown Greenville, such as interstate, such as residential driving. So things happen, okay? We are able to do reaction time, threat assessments, where different lighting, okay? Different signs or different cues. So once they see a sign and there is a arrow pointing to the left or right, so they're supposed to stop and then turn their wheel where the sign is showing. So there's a lot of different things that we can actually do within our simulator training. And the good thing about that is the computer doesn't lie. So so it definitely shows those numbers, and we use that as a reinforcement tool. Okay. Also, we have the capacity and ability to place dual video recorders in our vehicles. So it's a dash cam that records, most importantly, it records the inside of the cabin. So that was able to show the driving behavior, okay? So we kind of use that again, just like an athletic sports team. They are able to go back and look at footage of what they did, during the game to improve, or so that's where we're able to use that footage and to show someone where their weaknesses are and where their strengths are as well.
So if someone were to participate in a drive alert class,
yes,
it's simulation first and then potentially road?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
So we have a crawl, walk, and run phase of training. That is correct.
And Tina, are family members welcome to attend as well?
Absolutely. We encourage that as well, even if it's behind the wheel. So it happens all the time. The only time where someone is not able to be in the vehicle with the instructor and the client is when they're doing testing.
What do you mean testing? Which part would that be?
Yes, I'm sorry. So we are partnered with the DMV to administer the permit test and the DMV road test as well.
Okay.
Yes.
That's clear. And do you have any tips for ways that family members can talk with their loved one who is considering no longer driving?
Yeah, I'll let Sandy start with that and then I'll finish with that.
Definitely would be a family member or a friend that has already been driving with the person with the Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, or whatever it may be, so that they're not doing hearsay. Hearsay is something that does not even need to happen because that's only going to upset the person more. So it need to be a family member or friend who has already been driving with and has experienced some of the situations that are happening so that they can discuss that with them of what they are observing and asking the person questions as they're driving. Do you see the stoplight coming up? Just kind of like things that are getting ready to happen or are happening around them to kind of see, do they see the intersection coming up? Do they see the car that has just cut over in front of them? With that reaction time and just needing to know how to make the car stop, without slamming a brake, with just that reaction time that is needed to help keep them safe and the people around them. So that's a good talking point, inside the car and outside the car. And then getting a physician, a doctor involved, that it's not just saying, someone, a friend or family saying, you can't, you can no longer drive. Help them in understanding why, you're coming to this conclusion of it's just no longer safe for them to be behind the wheel.
Thank you. All right, y'all. Well, if anyone has any further questions, we'll go ahead and answer those.
I have one. Is that test only for senior citizens, or can anybody be evaluated in that way?
Anybody. So anyone, we had, this has been years ago, there was a lady, I think she was in her early 60s. Her husband had passed away and she did not drive. He was the driver. And so she wanted to learn how to drive. So she got her permit, with us. I drove with her. I did the class. I drove with her. And she took the DMV test and passed.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I want to thank both Tina and Sandy for being on today.